Chapter 46. At the start of Enki's and Siren's training. Well then, Valgrind looked towards the two. Let's go to the frozen continent. She smiled. Enki and Siren nodded in response. They traveled to the frozen continent with Misery waiting for them. Welcome Valgrind-sama, Velzard-sama has been expecting you. Misery bowed, guiding them all inside the castle. Soon they went inside the hall. Velzard was seen waiting for them with Rain and Guy with her. She noticed Valgrind and went to her with a wave. So these two are Enki and Siren, Velzard said looking at the two. Enki and Siren bowed in unison to Velzard. Thank you for accepting our request Velzard-sama. Oh, it's fine, not like there is much to do here anyway. Velzard stated to the two with a slight chuckle. Furthermore, she looks toward Valgrind who looked away. So this two are Rimuru's subordinates? I recall seeing them when we fought Ivaraj, but only a glimpse. Guy who joined in said as he observed the two. Enki and Siren felt his gaze pressuring their entire body. We apologize for intruding with your time Guy-sama, Siren said with a bowing gesture. We hope to not be in your way. Enki added as he did the same. It's fine, not like I'm the one you'll be training with anyway. Guy shrugs. Velzard here is the one who asked me if you can stay, not like we have much to do. This would be a great pastime to watch, and make Rimuru owe me. The two flinched at Guy's words. We came here on our own volition. Enki stuttered as Guy looked at him with a sharp glint in his eyes. Rimuru-sama is not involved whatsoever. Guy smirked. True, but you are still his subordinates. Velzard intervened. Enough with the teasing Guy, we won't finish anything like this. Sighing to herself as Guy just laughed and left the rest. Ah, Valgrind said with realization. Rain, she turned to the blue primordial. Yes Valgrind-sama. Rain stepped forward awaiting orders from the Scorched Dragon. We'll need your proficiency with water magic as well. Valgrind ordered. Sister here is more on ice so, you'll be teaching Siren with water. She looked towards Siren who was watching silently with gratitude in her heart. Of course, Rain bowed formally, I am yours to command. Valgrind took something out of her storage, here you go, payment for your services. Valgrind-sama has no need for such thing. Rain trailed of seeing the 5 bottles of wine presented in front of her. Misery who was watching from the side snorted knowing what was going through Rain's mind. Rain took the wine bottles silently albeit with shaking hands, slowly storing with care. After which she took a knee and looked towards Valgrind. I will make sure that Siren Dono will be the most powerful water spirit in the world. Good to hear, Valgrind nodded, holding back a laugh from Rain's exaggeration. A few days have passed since then. Enki's and Siren's training have both started. I managed to have Rimuru gave me a key to the universe that he and brother used to fight back then. Valgrind showed the key and opened the gate. Here we can train as much as we want without thinking about the damages. She passed through with them. That's a good idea. Velzard nodded as she followed in. And that starts the training for the two. Boom, asterisk. Again, boom, asterisk. Several large explosions could be heard from the area with the voice of the true dragon Valgrind mixed in. Again, Valgrind spoke with a stern voice. Understood. Enki beside her was exhaustingly panting, barely able to stand up. He spread out his hands above his head and started casting. Pyro magic. Combustion type. A large ball of flames was swirling as it forms atop of Enki. It grew larger and larger until it reached the size of 30 meters and then it disappeared. Eruption. Boom. Asterisk. Somewhere a few kilometers away from them, the ground suddenly exploded while spreading shockwaves to the surrounding. Rimuru invented both pyro magic and cryo magic base of the two true dragons' attributes. He has boasted to Valgrind of using scorch magic before, this was however a lie. It only looked like scorch magic with how similar it looked. Rimuru's scorch magic is simply pyro magic that has reached its highest potential. The qualities might be different in their origins, but the damage done and their appearance is extremely similar that normal onlookers wouldn't be able to differentiate them. And that is what Valgrind is trying to train Enki, to learn to use the highest potential of pyro magic. It's still lacking in a lot of areas. Valgrind looked at Enki who was spread out on the ground passed out. Well, it's only been a few days anyway. We have a lot of time to get you there. In a different location from the two. Maintain them. Rain shouted with her arms crossed in her maid clothing. She looks like she was having fun, as she had reasons to slack off from her chores. Yes, Siren answered as she focuses. She was sitting inside a water orb thrice the size of her body, with several rings of water turning outside of the orb in different directions and positions. Rain moved her right arm in front of Siren. The rings of water that were turning and circling the orbs started leaving and losing their form and fall to the ground. They lose form, Rain said as she shook her head. What she did was usurp control of the water Siren was maintaining. The purpose of the training is to perfectly master control of water and not let others have control. Apologies, Siren fell to the ground as she dizzily stood up and bowed to Rain. Once more, she looked at Rain with a firm expression. Now, Rain gestured her to relax. No rush, let's take a break, she said as she took out a chair and sat down as she relaxed. Siren looked like she wanted to say something but kept quiet and sat down and rested. Days turned to weeks to months and then to years. All day, every day they continue their training, making sure to do it step by step. One of those days, Velgrind had another chat with Velzard. Enki and Siren were currently fighting of all of Guy's demons, excluding Rain and Misery. Guy was the one who suggested this, in fact, to the others' surprise. Why don't you two fight my demons? He said out of the blue as the two rested. They need to blow off some steam from boredom anyway, raiding the humans won't be needed for like another decade or two. He shrugs. Velzard and Velgrind continued their talks privately. So as promise, you better do something on your date with Rimuru. Velzard pointed at Velgrind, who froze. I'm only helping to train so you could do something about your situation. Why are you so invested? Velgrind said as she covers her face with her hands. Besides, it's not a date, we're just going to. Yeah, a date or not, you two will be alone together. Velzard rested her chin to her palm. If you don't do anything, your competition might make a move. Velgrind looked at Velzard confused. Competition? Luminos, Rimuru knows she has feelings for him. Velzard said as she took her cup. He says he'll wait and see what Luminos will do. Wah, I mean, so what? Velzard took one arm to her face and sighed deeply. Don't you care? Your Rimuru will be with someone else. I'm still conflicted and confused here, okay? Velgrind fired back. I think I like Rimuru. Isn't that enough? Velzard furrowed her brows. I guess worst case scenario you two could share. Sister, don't say I didn't warn you. Velzard gestures, giving up. At least, accomplish this on your date. What is? Confirm your feelings for him. I don't want to hear, I think, or, maybe, from you. After their talk, they resumed the training of the two. Velgrind has been thinking about the words that she and Velzard exchanged, how she needs to understand her feelings completely. Velgrind-sama, Enki tried getting the attention of Velgrind, who regained herself as she turns to Enki. What is it? She asked, trying to focus on their training and lessons. I was actually thinking about asking for advice for something. Enki said, trailing of. He took out several bars of orichalcum. Lei-sama said that Rimuru-sama gave this to us and we should use it however we want. Velgrind looked surprised by the amount Enki took out. She knew that Rimuru gave it to them, but not how much. And what have you decided to do with it? We've discussed it, and we want to turn it into weapons. Enki answered as Rain and Siren walked towards them. Could we ask you to bring us to Gurin-sama? Siren asked as she went beside Enki. It should be fine, I guess, Velgrind concluded as they left, the three of them to go to Gurin's territory. Unfortunately we are busy at the moment, Gurin said with a sigh. They were in a reception hall of Gurin's kingdom. We've been at war with a few nations at the moment, you see. Few? Velgrind asked, confused. What kind of idiot nations would attack you? Gurin let out a dry laugh. Idiots that think if they enslave all the dwarfs they'll have more advancement as a nation. Luckily not all of the surrounding nations think the same, only about 4 nations. But they're large and strong nations that the others chose neutrality instead of supporting us. Come on now, Gurin, I know for a fact you could defeat them all on your own. Velgrind stated, recalling the time Gurin became a hero to defend his nation. That may be true, but if I left, the other nation will attack. I've already heard we have some spies inside the capital of their nations. Their plan is to have one act as bait while the others attack. Gurin pinched the bridge of his nose. Enki and Siren looked at each other. Then how about we drown their armies for you? Gurin looked at the two. You sure? This is a war not relating to you after all. He tried to reason. Velgrind scoffs. If the war hinders the creation of the weapons, then yes, they are related to the war. She pointed out. Besides, this should be good light exercise for you too. Yes. And so the two flew and intercepted the large army currently sieging the fort made by the Dwarven nation. With the soldiers trying to either climb the wall or shoot down the bowsmen. While the dwarves pushed back the climbers with their axes and spears, while raining arrows and rocks down below. Shit, the general of the Human Alliance said. So many casualties for one siege, bring out the summons. He ordered. As the battle continues, a group of 3 stared at the fort. A man in his late 20s stepped forward and ran to the wall while wearing heavy armor. He was built like a wrestler with muscles covering his entire body. He had short black hair and a scary gaze. As he ran, each step he took he grew bigger and bigger, with his clothes and armor growing in size with him. Until finally he was close to the wall. He was more than 15 meters tall as he crashed into the wall. Crack! The wall fell with the man rushing inside the fort, swatting and stomping on the dwarven enemies. Fire! Don't let the enemy in. Shit! Shit! Throw your spears! His armor's too tough! Shouts from the dwarven army could be heard as the enemy soldiers rushed inside. With them are the 2 other summoned. It's our time to shine, a woman in her late teens said with a smile as she held her spear. She had her long crimson hair in a ponytail as she started skewering the dwarves with eyes filled with insanity. Don't damage the bodies, you idiot. An old man in his early 50s said, wearing the signature clothing of mages. He raised his staff. The corpses of both the friends and enemies alike started to rise and fought once again. Seriously, youngsters these days. In less than an hour, they managed to capture the fort of the dwarves. Cheers of the Human Alliance soldiers resounded the entire fort. The dwarven prisoners are all bounded to the side, getting ready to be transported to the Alliance's headquarters. The commanding officers celebrated with the summons in one of the rooms of the fort for the successful siege. Ha ha ha, as expected from the summons, cheered the general as he drank alcohol. How many casualties would we have without you 3? You all would have probably died just from this fort alone, said the female teen with the spear as she ate. I'm still mad that you dismembered a lot of the dwarves, shouted the old man. We could have used them to replenish our numbers. If not, we could have them at least carry supplies. The last summoned just silently ate as the other 2 argue. Then he realized something. Do you also feel hot? Before the others could reply, the room burst into flames. No, the entire fort was burning. Not one part of the fort was spared as all of the Human Alliance burned to cinders. Oops, I thought those summoned would have put more of a fight, Enki said as he floated above the fort, scratching the back of his head. Got too excited there. Ag, it hurts. Fire, I'm burning. Meanwhile, a bit away from the fort was a large water barrier to cover from the heat. Siren was inside with the surviving dwarves who were being released one by one. That idiot went too far. She sighed. She sensed several human soldiers who weren't in the fort running away. He let some escape, she muttered as she made water tendrils that slithered like snakes towards the enemy soldiers. Once they attach themselves into the humans, they coil around them, squashing their insides as the water reaches the head to be drowned. With that, the Human Alliance, who was acting as the vanguard and bait to create a blind spot, was utterly destroyed. Not one survivor was left on the 2's slaughter. That should do it for them for now, Siren said, returning with the dwarves. The humans should be confused on what to do next for at least a few months without the contact of the vanguard. She reassures Gurren, and thanks to my attack, once they investigate and saw the result, it should weaken their morale somewhat. Enki added, thank you for that, you too. Gurren appreciated their help on his war. I'll make sure the weapons I'll make for you 2 will be the best I could make, he announced to the 2. Enki and Siren left the bars with Gurren, who said that it'll take a long time to make them to be satisfactory. As they left, they added a good news to Gurren. Velgrin Sama has contacted Guy Sama. He said he'll have the demons attack those nations for a few years. Which left a smile to Gurren's face. To be continued.